Okay, so we are live on Facebook now. Okay, hello guys, my name is Umar and I'm the director of Startup Grand Swap. I also run IT company with the name of UFE Techstars Private Limited. So our today guest is Farah Fauzi. She is the regional manager of Asia Pacific in Techstars. She builds entrepreneurship communities and helps startups. She works with multitude partners such as Google for startups and so on. So she later on she will introduce herself in details because she is doing a lot of work in yeah. Thank you so much, Farah ma'am, for your time, precious time, and joining us.
Of course. Thanks, Umar, for hosting everything. Yeah. So should we
So,
start?
yeah, over to you, please.
All right, perfect. I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Sure.
Okay, can everybody hear me well? You can respond with a thumbs up, Omar. Perfect. Yes. Hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to be able to have a debut in Pakistan. I've never had a session in this region of the world before, so this is very exciting for me. And thank you very much, Startup Grind, for hosting me here. So as Omar mentioned, I am the regional manager in Asia Pacific for Techstars. What I do is I help manage two of our main startup programs here, which is Startup Weekend and Startup Week. You've probably heard of Startup Weekend. It's a 54 hours program where you get to experience what it's like to be an entrepreneur and go through the lows and the highs, make new friends, hopefully stay connected, sometimes get married. So if you're looking to build a startup or something's looking for love, that's probably the program you could look at. My background is actually in law. So I have a double degree in civil and Sharia law. And I was a lawyer before I decided to drink the Kool-Aid and decided to get into the startup scene. In the past, I've built a couple of companies. One is an e-commerce. It was a bespoke floral box delivery for all of Malaysia. And the other company I built was a social enterprise. It is an SOS camouflage mobile app for domestic violence victims. And that one took me all the way to the Nobel Peace Prize award ceremony in 2013, which is super fun. But right now, what I love to do is to help support startups and communities around Asia Pacific, which includes you in Pakistan. As much as I do it for work in Techstars, I'm also quite agnostic. So if you do have other programs, you do have questions related to your program that I could potentially support and help answer questions about, I'm more than happy to do that. So anything around community management, growth, and operations, like I'm your girl for that. So I'm going to get into an introduction about the company I work for a little bit before we start going into the workshop itself, which is building meaningful relationships. So I work for Techstars, and that is the worldwide network that helps entrepreneurs succeed. What this means is that we are actually an accelerator program that is based in Boulder, Colorado, and we now have over 50 programs around the world. And we link this up with our venture capital as well as our corporate innovation programs and what I do, community programs. So we were founded in 2007 in America, and we currently have been since 2007, connect founders with entrepreneurs, experts, mentors, alumni, investors, community leaders, and corporate partners to help them grow their companies. We're currently, depending on which program you're looking at, in as many countries as Starbucks, which is pretty awesome. But I focus on Asia Pacific. And we basically have a huge portfolio and network of people that help support everything that we do in a holistic manner so that we can all function better together. So our main program is definitely the accelerator-driven programs. We do not have one yet in Pakistan. But if you know anybody who would be keen to bring us there, like, please give me a shout. Otherwise, we do have our community programs based everywhere around the world, including Pakistan. In Asia Pacific, we do have programs in Singapore, in Korea, as well as in the Middle East. And we currently are running a few corporate innovation partnerships as well. One of our longest standing partners is Barclays in London. But of course, pride and joy for me in Asia is Startup Weekend. I think I gave a pretty good overview earlier, so I'm not going to go through it again, but these are our stats. It really is super fun. It's not like a boring classroom structure workshop. So if you're keen to attend one of them, please look out for Startup Weekend in your local city. I think a team from Karachi is planning to host one soon, so keep your ears open for that. We also run another program called Startup Week, and this is a 5-day entrepreneur-led community-run event held in specific cities around the world. Very industry agnostic. We make sure that we run events in multiple spaces. We make sure we have a coverage of different backgrounds of folks from different industries and career paths. That helps, making sure that entrepreneurship can thrive within your own ecosystem. So going back into the power of the network. I know this is a random photo of a person, but actually this is Mr. Amarit Charanpan. He is one of our community leaders based in Thailand. And I wanted to highlight him because he really started off as somebody who was just keen about, understanding how to connect with people better. He came back from studying abroad for a little bit, and he brought in the concept of co-working space in Thailand, and then later on co-founded the first co-working space in Thailand called Hubba. But he basically started by observing programs that he enjoyed and started to build very meaningful relationships with people behind those programs. So people like Omar, who introduced me earlier, these are the folks that he would connect with and make sure he kept tabs on and understand, hey, what are you building next month? And have you spoken to the community and people who attended your programs? What do they think? What do they want? This is all out of curiosity. When he started, he had nothing. He hasn't built anything. At that point, was just toying with the idea of building a co-working space, which eventually led him to actually do that. So once he did that, he brought people together and literally developed the Bangkok and eventually Thailand startup ecosystem. He then co-founded Techstars, which is a media company based in Thailand, and eventually used all the meaningful relationships that he built to land a partnership with Google for Startups and became Thailand's Google for Startup partner. By doing all of that, he never strayed away from his core curiosity, which is to understand people better and knowing what more that is out there in the world, figuring out what he could do better with his skills and how he can pair that out with other things and other people that exist externally. And then once he managed to basically create all of these platforms, which is through his co-working space, through his media company, and the partnership with Google for Startups, he managed to incredibly, and exponentially increase the amount of value that he could give to other people, and in return, the value of those relationships that he built. So at the end of the day, it's your meaningful network that will make it possible for you to have the impact with your career and the life that you desire. The example I gave of AIM was just one person who honestly was just an extrovert to begin with and really loved connecting with people and really loved learning new things. But you might not be the same kind of person and you might have different interests, be it within the startup scene. Maybe you're more interested in the numbers behind that. You're interested to have a venture capital community. Maybe it's completely different. You're interested in medical or tech or arts, right? So just bear in mind that having meaningful relationships at the core means that you need to be, very trusting and open-minded and making sure that you know what your interests are so that you can relate with other people with the same interests. The number one step for you to even begin to manifest in that idea of being a super connector and having amazing relationships is for you to start by being a connector. Now, I know that it's been common practice for people to practice, what do you call this? Double opt-in intro. It was super popular. It is still very popular, where you make sure that you check in with someone else and you're like, hey, can I connect you to this person because they're interested to do this? But that always comes after an ask has been made, right? So one of the main preachers of having incredible relationships or network building in Techstars is Chris Heisley. He currently leads the ecosystem development sector of the company. And this is what he does as a practice every single day. Every day, he will connect one person with another person in his own network that he thinks would benefit from that connection or relationship. Nobody asked for anything. Nobody wanted to be connected with anybody. But him as a person believes that, hey, I think if I connected the both of you, either incredible things could come out of that from a new startup spinning off, or locking down investments, or making sure that you have support in figuring out how to navigate a new chapter of your life, all the way to just having a really good new hangout buddy, right? So he does that on a daily basis, and he does it for no personal gain. Again, no personal gain is a common theme, similar to what AIM used to do. And on the concept of, hashtag #givefirst. So at the end of the day, connecting the dots of people within your own network can help build a meaningful relationship for you with these people you've connected as well. Because if you think about it, can you imagine you just have a really good friend, you told your friend that, hey, I'm struggling really hard with figuring out how to come up with solutions for this specific bit of my job that I'm currently doing. Nothing to do with startups, right? Like to start with. I'm trying to figure out how to understand better this compliance matter at work. You know a lawyer who has experience. They don't know each other. And you immediately just go, look, I'm just going to connect you guys so you guys can have a chat, and hopefully something good comes out of it. If you practice doing something like that every day without having an intention of like, yeah, you better be grateful that I connected you for this. Oh, I have rights over, any wins you might get from this relationship. Just making sure that you renew your intentions and you're just very genuine about it. People will immediately think of you whenever something good comes along. And that deepens the meaning of your relationship, right? So for example, within the startup scene, we have a few folks that we are connected with around the region. Like a good example right now, for example, is how Arzish from Startup Bride just invited me to speak here. And I'm like, okay, cool, of course I'll do it. But the next time I have an opportunity to highlight someone from Pakistan, Arzish would be the first person that I think of. And it's not like it was a trade-off to begin with. It was just very genuine and very casual with genuine curiosity. So a personal network is something that you should invest in, similar to how you would invest in your personal brand. And honestly, a lot of what we're going to talk about is just going to be very genuine and honest methods on how you can develop your relationships better. So what would a meaningful network look like? And what do these networks look like? It basically revolves around individuals in your life who are people that you personally care about, and who in turn then will care about you. Personal network is a group of caring, like very dedicated people who are committed to maintain a relationship with you, basically, in order to support you in a given set of activities or mutual development or some form of growth. And this could be anything around startup building to hobbies of interest, or even political interests, right? Or religious interests. So they're people that will support you regardless of what position you're in, especially professionally, because I'm sure most of you are here to build that professional network, right? And this can also be replicated when you're trying to build a relationship with companies. So if you have your own company and you want to make sure you tackle a client, and that is a larger conglomerate, make sure you identify and stalk people on LinkedIn. Reach out with an honest introduction and genuine curiosity to understand what they are like better as a person. Schedule a call and be like, hi, this is what I do. I think you're very interesting based on the work you've done. I just like to steal about 15 minutes of your time for a quick virtual call. And don't ask anything about, your asks within your business. Just get yourself interested in who that person is. And then eventually you build that relationship deeper. So when the point comes where you feel like your relationship with this person is really solid, the one time you're going to make that ask, it's going to be really smooth and very easy for someone to help you out. But of course, this is with the caveat that you actually do get along. If that person to you doesn't share the same values, then I'd say, it's not worth it. Go through like a regular corporate channel, or find someone else that you can have a good relationship with. Because at the end of the day, as much as you do want to make money, you also want to have a good reputation and goodwill based on your company. And so having this crowd of folks who really genuinely care about you and your growth personally and your business or professionally, like these are the people who you should keep in your network. There's a really popular saying that you probably have heard, which is, you show me your friends and I'll show you your future. This is really what everybody has been telling you your whole life, from when you're a kid and your mom is like, make sure you pick your friends wisely, all the way to listening to TED Talks. And, people say you are the sum total of the 5 closest people within your circle of friends. This exactly means the same thing, because you should be mindful of who you keep close to you. You could have like a personal circle, but you should also have a professional circle, or something in between these two Venn diagrams that fits how you need to develop yourself as an individual and as a professional. So making sure that you're mindful of who you are building relationships with and why you are building them, and having the right intentions and reasons, because without having the right intentions and the right reasons for connecting to a person, it will not be sustainable. Otherwise, it becomes something like a chore. You don't want to be that person who, at the end of the day, just becomes a growth expert for companies, but actually you're just doing it for yourself and it's really exhausting. You don't want to be that friend who everybody knows when they say hello, you're like, oh yeah, he needs something. Oh yeah, he's going to ask me for a favor. Oh, he's going to try and sell me insurance. Like, you don't want to be that person, right? So it's okay to say no sometimes, to make sure that you can filter the kind of people you allow in your life. And we're going to do a bit of exercise. Usually this is a workshop I run in person, and it's a lot more fun because I get to see you. But right now, all I see is my little camera. I hope you're having good fun with me still. We are going to do a meaningful network audit. We're going to audit your friends list / close, intimate, personal relationship list. You can name it whatever you want, but basically this is your meaningful network or personal network. And we want to do this because we want to make sure that you understand the value that they bring to you in your life, so that you can be genuine and understand the meaning of why you want to build a deeper relationship with these people. Because clearly you don't need to have the same level of deep, meaningful relationships with everybody that you come across. You could have your innermost circle. This probably doesn't include your parents. It's probably like your spouse or your best friend, right? And then it's like close family and friends. And then as the circle expands, like they move differently. But people always look at it on a horizontal plane. Sometimes it works on a vertical plane as well. And this includes when you have your profession come into play. So some people can cross over roles, like they could be your father and they could be your mentor. They could be a friend, and they could also be a person who complements you with a career skill that you might not have, that can help you develop yourself further. So build conduct an audit based on who you think is super valuable to you. You can exclude your family from this, because I feel that's a given. Blood is blood. Blood's thicker than water. We all know that you love your family. So let's just focus on like friends and people who you are close to. This includes your personal friends and your work wife or your work husband, people you work with in your team. So list down the top 5 to 10 folks that are closest to you in your immediate network. These are folks you like giving energy to, you enjoy building relationships with, you have most of the time no issues introducing them to other people that you think are brilliant. And think about what you can do this week to them or your broader network that will add value into their life. So list down the top 5 to 10 folks, and then next to their names or underneath their names, consider what you feel they would need or enjoy that you can actually provide them. That could range from something as simple as being a listener for them to vent about work or about their personal life, all the way to recommending them where to get a pet, recommending them the best preschools, especially now with coronavirus and all the schools are shut, like what can they do moving forward, teaching them how to use virtual tools better, advising them on their business. Like it could range from something so simple to something very complex that can help them either personally or professionally. And just remember to do this maybe 1 hour at least every 2 weeks, to be mindful of the folks you want to appreciate, so that they know that they're always on the top of your mind. And this way you get to build that relationship deeper. And at some point, to be honest, a lot of these people will graduate out of your list because they are so close to you that they don't need to be on that list anymore. They know they don't have to talk to you every day, but if you ask for something, you won't ask if you don't really need it. And you don't ask without, like you're not trying to feel like there's a disadvantage or there's an imbalance in that relationship. It's always very mutual. It's always very respected. You don't owe anyone anything. They don't owe you anything. And so they've reached the state of superior relationship status with you. And anytime you need anything, they're going to be, yeah, sure, why not? As long as it's not illegal. But you know what I mean. And then, this is a very typical Techstars slide, which is give first. Again, that is at the core of all of this. At the end of the day, it is your intentions and your value of wanting to connect people honestly and make sure that you give your time first to them. Like for you to be able to build this pattern and make sure that people around you can continue adding value to you as well, everybody needs to expand their network, right? So you need to do it first for people to replicate what you're doing. If you just spend about an hour a week to maybe like that means 10 to 15 minutes per day, slot it away where you can have a conversation with someone new or a conversation with someone you want to rekindle a relationship with, or someone you know that has been struggling and has been quieter over the last maybe year during this coronavirus period as opposed to before. Someone that you think is doing something incredible and you can just learn a little better from, but you don't have that closer relationship with. Just make sure that you have 15 minutes to volunteer your time out and spend it on building certain relationships. This is going to fly by a little fast because usually we spend about like 10 to 15 minutes just doing the first exercise. But I guess since this is virtual and no one's going to like say anything back, we're going to go through the exercises and then you can ask me questions at the end for more examples. So exercise number 2 is really important because it teaches you to commit. And instead of asking new people when you're connecting with someone new, oh, what do you do? Because honestly, if you're not lazy and you're very aware of your personal branding, you probably by now would have set up a fake LinkedIn account to like stalk people that you're going to meet. That's like an actual pro tip. Like you should do that. Like you don't want people to know that you're stalking them. So if you either go for LinkedIn Pro, but if you want to save money, then like set up a fake account to look people up and do research, because it means you genuinely care, right? When you want to meet someone, you want to know what they're interested in. You want to make sure you can have a like stimulating conversation. So instead of asking them, oh, what do you do? You can ask them more meaningful questions like, what's been on your mind a lot lately? What's on fire in your life right now? Maybe not that romantic, but you get what I mean. So for example, if you know that somebody has been furloughed, you can kind of guess the state that they're in, but maybe they came up with something interesting that can also support you or that you can help with. Or, someone, that has been an academician like all their life. Instead of asking, what do you do? What are they going to say? Like, oh yeah, I'm a professor. Okay, you can get that from just Googling their name. Ask them about their research. Ask them about their experience in plugging that research into like the industry or the community or what you can do with that, or ask them how you can help them. And for this exercise, it is really about coming up with questions that are not surface level, that you think can be applied to many people, but also digging a little deeper on understanding who they are as people instead of defining them by what they do. And a main part of this exercise, I can't validate that you're going to do it or not, but I can just tell you, is to actually connect to someone that you are chatting with. So if any of you are like talking on Facebook chat right now, like I'd suggest connecting with someone you see there, just giving them a DM and on Facebook Messenger, and just say, hey, like obviously we're interested in the same thing because we're listening to the same broadcast and same video right now. We both want to develop our personal relationships and figure out how to build that better. Can we just like have a chat and get to know each other more? And it's very much almost like dating, but really like this is just very professional. Like you can do this on LinkedIn too. I'm just saying Facebook because I know we're streaming live there right now. But I would recommend you to make sure you send out a message and say, hey, I want to spend, again, 15 minutes sometime this week or next when it suits you. Please let me know if you're open to it and I'll send you a calendar invite. And you'd be surprised with how much you learn from people this way. Honestly, I've done this on Instagram as well. I know that sometimes it's a little sensitive based on your gender. So I personally, on platforms that are not LinkedIn, I've only done it with girls. So I recently did it maybe 3 weeks ago on Instagram, where I found a founder of this program or NGO that helps teaches young girls from the ages of 7 to 12 about menstruation and about health and cleanliness around, sexual education, because that's not provided in like my country. But it's important because they need to be able to protect themselves. Most of these like kids come from the underprivileged background, and they don't even have resources or money to buy like sanitizing pads and like any basic materials, especially during like coronavirus times. I just found her profile randomly and I said, hello, like this is what I do. I have no experience in any of the work that you've done specifically, but I find it super interesting. We can stay connected, and maybe someday in the future, there's a way for us to work together. Lo and behold, right before I jumped on this like session, she DM'd me on Instagram. She was like, hey, can I have your number? I want to chat with you for 15 minutes on something really interesting. And I said, yeah, okay, sure. Like, definitely. She gave me a call. We had a chat for about 20 minutes. And turns out she is working on a project that is trying to bring together a lot of Malaysian startups. And she wanted me to be able to connect her with founders that I personally know. And then in return, she was like, I was, really moved by the fact that you're so interested in what I do. Maybe next year we can work together in building this program better and expanding it. And that was super exciting for me. And I did not have to say yes, It was just great that we're building this relationship. And now I have one more person in my network that I can always refer to when other people come up with questions or they need someone that can help with anything that she's worked on in the past. So that could be between like social entrepreneurship all the way to building an NGO and turning that into a social entrepreneurship, or working with children, or building programs for startups, right? And this just added value to me and the quality of my, professional career of being a super connector. Or even if I were a lawyer, like say I am like hanging out with a bunch of friends who are in the legal industry, and they're working on cases related to underprivileged children, or something around sexual harassment against children, which is something that I'm very passionate about. So I'm always around these people. Now I have someone who actually works with these kids that can give certain like feedback as validation or information as a domain expert that you might not get through just basic research and Googling. And so this is why I think connecting with strangers, especially when you have a mutual platform or network or interest, is super beneficial. And this is a way that you can build a relationship better. So like hang out in the comment section at the bottom and make sure that you DM each other and set a schedule for a virtual coffee or a virtual lunch. And these are basically actions that you can take today itself. Your success at building a meaningful network is really founded on one very important mindset. And, that is that you're doing it based on your desire to know, to appreciate, and to help other people. I could give you 1,000,001 examples of how people have tried doing this without being genuine, but I feel like that would just be a waste of your time. I think you can by yourself, especially after doing your meaningful relationships audit, just thinking about the people that don't make it to that list, you can kind of already guess, they're just not worth it. And at the end of the day, it is really difficult. I wish there was a specific formula and key that can just help me be very appealing to people of, all walks of life, regardless of your interests and background and your stands and values. But unfortunately, there isn't. And therefore, you got to be able to play with your strengths. And this is to make sure that you surround yourself with people who want to lift you up and lift other people up as well. So I'm going to go through a few tips that you should bear in mind to make sure you can practice this efficiently. It's not something that happens overnight, honestly. I started working with Techstars in the community team about 5 years ago. And I started off as an extreme extrovert. I was still in law school at the time. I was working full-time while I was doing my law degree and sitting for my bar exams. But I was also just very interested in everything that the startup world could offer, because to me, I felt like every day, all I do is look at problems and try to fix problems. But if I worked in the startup scene, everyone is working on solutions to fix problems before they even exist. And that was super exciting to me. Eventually, I burnt out. And now I'm a super introvert. But because of that whole process, I've learned that you can always find a way to build meaningful relationships. It's not a volume game, it's a quality game. And anybody can play that game if you're genuine. So the first tip is, well, here it says, learn to listen and understand, which is really important, because I think a lot of people listen to answer, and they don't want to learn to listen. It's really, I guess, interesting, because in this day and age, instant gratification is such a normal thing that it's hard for anybody to just shake off, right? With the social media and instant messaging, you're so used to getting instant results. And this is very difficult for the human mind and body to just generally digest. Like, you can't build instant relationships, like you need to be able to be empathetic and compassionate, and understand that people have boundaries and people have interests. So make sure you become an active listener. Learning to listen is not an easy task. These are all things that you can develop over time, as long as you're being mindful. And you can do this by, first and foremost, being very happy with yourself. Like, you shouldn't beat yourself up, regardless of what kind of person you are. Even if people say, oh, hey, like, you're too loud, you're too opinionated, you're too quiet, you don't say enough. Like, why are you even here? It doesn't matter, right? Like, as long as you're sure with yourself, especially now, since everybody is on lockdown, you've got time to reflect and figure out who you are a little bit better. Use that to your advantage. Just understand yourself better, and then learn to listen and watch out for people who you think can match you. Next up is, once you've built that early stage of that relationship and you've learned to listen and you've identified what they're interested in, what you can match up with them, make sure you follow up. If you send a message once and they don't respond, maybe they're busy, maybe they're overwhelmed, maybe they're not sure who you are. So follow up and be like, hi, I just want to make sure that, I'm on the top of your mind again, because I, again, am really, really keen about whatever interest that you have that's mutual with them. Like, here's my LinkedIn if you'd like to check me out, or blah, blah, blah. Offer something first, so that they know that you're being vulnerable and you're being honest about wanting to have a relationship with them. Well, now you can grab virtual lunch or virtual coffee. Make sure that you prioritize that. Like, I think that's a key word here. Prioritizing time to listen and understand people better, and to build that specific relationship. Because as much as, this is slightly irrelevant, since it's like love languages, but it still, is part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. At the end of the day, everything is psychology with us. But the point I'm trying to make is, people receive and give like attention or affection in very similar ways. There are only a few ways. And there's this thing called love language. I think they've listed out like 5 different love languages. One of the most common love languages that people attach to or they need is quality time. Quality time is something that everybody appreciates. This is why, you're never allowed to play with your phone when you're having a conversation. This is why kids require it so much for great development. And investing your time into someone else to make sure that you have a great relationship is just as important, because you make them feel important. And that's what you would want, right, as a person. So if I were you, I'd schedule time maybe in the next 1 week with anybody that you just spoke to from the comment section, or that you just stalked on LinkedIn, and try to make sure that they show up for it and you show up for it too. And then try to regularly take inventory of the relationships that you have. Sometimes life gets so busy, we don't have time to take an audit of what's good and what's not for our lives. So it doesn't mean that you should get rid of people. It doesn't mean that you should ignore certain people, but you can always prioritize to talk to some people more than you talk to others. Because at the end of the day, we only have 24 hours, and you need to make sure that you've got extra time to dedicate to building relationships with new people. And this requires you to shave off some time from other people or other commitments that you might have. Make sure that you pay it forward, because at the end of the day, people would want to reflect on what you've done and how that relationship has developed for them. So if somebody gave you a really nice connection, make sure you pay it forward by like giving them or someone else an equally meaningful connection. If somebody gave you meaningful time or quality time from their day, make sure you pay it forward as well, because you never know who you can help at the end of the line, right? Like people are always connected in different ways. A really cool example is how I think I helped run a program maybe 5 or 7 years ago. And this is in conjunction with a bunch of other students, honestly. Like there was no one that's from a really lush background or from a big corporation. But I found out quite recently that these kids that came out of those programs, some of them graduated and they're doing really well, or one of them set up a company and it's expanding. Some other startup programs I've built, like we heard that one of them just moved into a new office all the way in Europe. Another one just raised a whole round and it's basically trying to change the legal tech scene. And as much as it wasn't something that you coach them directly to, it feels good to know that whatever you're doing is being paid forward because it manifested in them and they're now helping other people through the work that they do and through the quality of life that they have and the quality of their personal network. And for you to do this, you should never wait to be asked for help. Again, active listening, and having quality time for meaningful conversations. When you understand that someone in your network is trying to figure something out and you might have a connection that could lead to something else, be very proactive and quick in trying to plug that together. So I know I mentioned AIM, an example from Thailand. He's one of our community leaders earlier in the session. He is now working with another community leader in Korea to form this thing called an impact collective. And they're basically looking for social impact startups to invest in and to guide through this kind of like community-based accelerator program. And he mentioned it to us on the go. And then I said, yeah, sure. Like I'll definitely highlight you in our newsletter. But also, because you're doing this, here are all the people I know that's in the sustainability industry or in the impact sector that I don't know if you know, but in case you don't know, I would love it if you get connected with them because I'm sure they would love to be a part of this and you would get so much out of them being here. But most of all, the participants of this program would be able to have access to a whole variety of mentors from across the region, from different backgrounds and industries. And that at the end of the day would be a win-win for everybody. And what do I get out of it? Nothing. Just I genuinely think it would be great for people. So you should do that. Respond quickly. I am still in the process of learning on how to do this better. I could be better at it. Right now I'm juggling about 4 roles and that's a bit difficult. But as much as I can, I try to do it. I think it's good practice for us to do that. I feel like there's a massive culture, at least in some countries, including mine, for us to just be a bit more tardy. So being quick shows people that you genuinely care and you appreciate that they're putting their time forward for you and they're thinking of you. And you're just being a good-mannered person. So remember that you're building a network of people that you really like and you want to see succeed. This could be a community or individuals or a team or a company. The more you contribute to interactions, the more people will look forward to them. And the more likely that they are going to think of you when they need advice, help, and so on. And remember that it doesn't mean that it stops at advice. This could also mean opportunities, investments, jobs, roles, like anything like that, right? So invest to getting to know and helping the people that you already like to begin with. It doesn't have to be that difficult. Like I said, your top 5 people on that list, start with them because you already have a good relationship with them and you like them and you respect them. build that relationship better and deeper, and then move on and learn how to do that more with other folks. But remember that it doesn't have to be any more than 15 to 20 of your closest go-to folks in supporting you either professionally or personally. So just remember not to express expectation of getting something in return. And honestly, if you have the right intentions to begin with, I don't even have to say that line. This is a good example of how a startup community website was just built within a few weeks. This is called Startup Communities, and it's hosted on Mighty Networks. It's from Brad Felt, the writer of Startup Community Way. He's one of our original founders of Techstars as well, and he's an investor. And he decided that with the launching of his upcoming book in 2 weeks, he wanted to build a platform for everybody to kind of connect better regardless of what your role is. So you could be someone from the government or the venture capital industry, or just a community builder, or someone from a normal industry. And if you want to check it out and see how people are interacting in there without boundaries, like, feel free to go to that website, startup-communities.mn.co, and see what they have in store for you. And so that's it for me. I'm going to stop screen sharing, and I'm going to see if you guys have any questions. Can I share the links? Yes, of course. For the Mighty Networks, Umar? Is that what it's for? Yes, of course.
Yes, we will post in the comment section. So if someone want to follow up all the, which you have discussed, so they can easily.
Yep. I can also share my slide deck if you guys want. There you go.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, we had a question from Mahila, personal or professional. I think I mentioned that earlier. I think it can be applied both ways depending on how you want to manage those relationships, and you can replicate this very easily by prioritizing what you want for both of these. Yeah. All right. Thank you for sharing the link. Umar, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I would like to know more about, like, some people, and my favorite as well, like, your network is your net worth, right? So if you can, put some light on this statement, so it will be great, because still we have some time, so we can discuss this as well. And I hope.
Oh,
Yeah,
I lost
please.
you for a second. I think I lost you for the last 10 seconds. You want to repeat that? Sorry.
I would like to know more about, like, if you put some light on your network is your net worth, so it will be great, really great.
Yeah.
Because still we have some time, right? So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, your network is your net worth. I think that's a really good saying, and it's really important. It rings true for everything that you do, again, personally and professionally, because that opens up opportunities for you regardless of what you want to do. So for example, having a really solid network improves your net worth, because people who are like within your close personal network will always think of you when they come up with like new cool opportunities, or when they want to make sure that they can refer somebody that they trust for accrediting something, or making sure that, for example, talking on certain topic, building new companies together, making sure that, even honestly, like finding a good friend for another friend that you have. This can really open up doors for you. And this ties in a lot into how you build your LinkedIn and personal branding as well. So I know that like Belinda Esterhammer, a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, she did a session on personal branding too with Startup Grind. So you could check out that video. And she also relates this to how building a really good personal brand and your, LinkedIn, your Instagram, whatever socials that you have, really, really improves what your perceived net worth is. And at the end of the day, a brand is what everybody else thinks of you, right? It's not what defines you, but it's what people believe that you are. And your net worth, at the end of the day, functions in a very similar way, because you might have a monetary net worth on your forehead, like, oh, are you worth like whatever million or billions? But you could also have a social net worth. And this could be even more incredible because you can help connect people across multiple industries or whatever niche that you're focused in. So I personally think that a lot of people don't fully realize the social net worth that they have until they open up their borders and start building new, meaningful relationships with cooler people, or just people with similar interests, for them to understand that they've got all these skills and incredible connections. So that's what okay, how do I keep track of all the people that I want to network with? That's a good question. A friend of mine who used to work with me in Techstars, his name is Oko Davasuran. He is a celebrity of Mongolia at this point, also past co-founder. We have a personal dashboard system that we create using an Excel sheet. And I list their names down with their emails there and certain topics that I think would be of interest, or specific programs or projects that they've done, which I know is probably close to their heart. And I try to email them with interesting things that I read, like across the news, or someone told me something. And I make sure that, again, I dedicate about 15 minutes of my time to update this. And within that Excel sheet, I'm like, yep, tick, I've emailed this person, this person, this person. And I've got like either a monthly or bi-monthly planning schedule for that too, similar to how you would plan projects. But this only works for professional relationships. And this is not for something that you would want to consider as ultra meaningful close circle relationships, because if you need to keep track of that, then that means you don't care personally about it enough, and that person probably will not be in your innermost circle. But it works as a professional method. Yeah. That's my tip for that.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, so guys, if you have any questions, so you can put on the live comment section. So then we will be able to read it here. Because whenever if you put question on the not on the live section, then we are not able to check.
Yes. What other platforms do they have to put questions on?
Yeah, we are live on Facebook on multiple pages actually. We have cross-posted. Yeah, so sometimes this is the disadvantage. Like if someone want to comment on not on that specific section, so we are not able. We need to follow up after the session. Yeah.
I understand.
Hamza.
Thank you, Hamza.
Okay, so I think no more questions coming from the audience. So if there is anything you want to discuss from your own side, from your own experience, so that will be great, like your last advice you want to give, or anything. So, and then we can wrap up the session. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Umar. My last advice is honestly for you to look for maybe top 3 topics that you're very interested in, and look beyond the first page of Google search for opportunities that you can chime in, and then start building your network from there. And I guess consider spending the same amount of time to improve your external network as much as you're trying to improve your internal personal network that I spoke on, like mostly before this. So that's probably what I would, share with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much, and thank you so much again for your precious time. It was really, amazing session. I already noted some points as well, so it's very helpful and insightful session. And
thank you, Umar.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.
If everybody wants to connect with me, find Umar.
Yeah, sure. Can you share your LinkedIn URL so I can post in the comment section so people can, reach
Yeah,
out to
for
you
sure.
via LinkedIn. Yeah,
Just give me 1 sec to pull it out.
sure.
And here you go.
Let me put it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you guys. Have a great evening and stay safe, stay isolated, stay hydrated. Oh, bye, Saad.